Dr. Death, featuring Harold Shipman. Full name, Harold Frederick Shipman. Crimes and sprees. Harold was known to murder 215 victims. However, he was suspected on murdering 45 more. The serial killer himself had worked as a doctor, seemingly healing and treating the patients. However, in reality, he was murdering his patients with the medication he had, faking it by lying the medications would heal the diagnosis of the patients or the sickness they carried. Specifically, he would use a lethal overdose of diamorphine on his victims. Whenever he does, he would watch their lives fade away. He falsified their deaths, covering with the excuse that they had passed away from their conditions or their natural ages or causes. Evidence and records had suggested during his spree, he would steal the medications instead of buying them, then using them to take the lives of his victims. He would report that patients who were perfectly fine complained about chest pains, severe coughing, or organ conflicts. On the while, he would use the unsuspecting time, to murder his patients. There was a report other than doctor-related crimes. He would steal jewelries along with gems and expensive accessories. Furthermore, other than murderous crimes, he was involved in fraud, theft, and drug trafficking. His crime spree had lasted from the year 1971 to the year 1998. While it was suggested or guessed the spree began on 1975, it is likely it began on 1971 based on the forensic evidences. Investigation. Months before the doctor was caught, a medical staff noticed the unusual high rates of death in the hands of Harold. This caught the eyes of the police, opening a minor investigation. However, when the police checked the records, they were fooled by the editing skills of Harold, letting the serial killer take the lives of reportedly 3 more people. Several months later, on August 1998, a lady who goes by Angela Woodruff, who was a lawyer and the daughter of one of Harold's victims, Kathleen Grundy, discovered a missing check of 400,000 euros, who was traced back to the doctor named Harold Shipman. Due to the differences in the contract and the style on using the typewriter between Harold and Kathleen. In addition, there were 2 witnesses who claimed Harold had tricked them into signing a paper, while Harold himself claimed it was for a medical study. Authorities had arrested Harold during one of his surgery to an elderly patient on September 7, 1998. It was Detective Inspector Stan Egerton who escorted the doctor out of his surgical facility. During one of the interviews, nearly every question Harold would refuse to answer, responding with the quote, "No comment." In fact, when the pictures of the victims were pulled into his face, he would purposely shut his eyes and turn away towards the wall. Trial and court proceedings. The trial for the case of Shipman had lasted from October 1999 to January 2000 in Preston Crown Court. Mainly during the court, they focused on these specific 15 cases due to the fact those cases were the only ones that had the most amount of forensic evidences, along with digital evidences and records. History, in other words, in modern terms. When he stood in the court, he would use the defense mechanism of doctor knows best, which means, in his mind, that doctors are always right. He specifically also claimed that since his patients were elderly aged, in other words, old unfortunately, they carried an underlying and declining health conditions which led to their natural cause deaths, so he claimed. However, it was discovered from their bodies that there were loads of diamorphine injected into their bodies, proving he killed using that drug, making the patients pass away in short amount of minutes. In addition, in the court, it was discovered based on different records, or the records of the patients. It was shown in the history that Harold had edited, changed the notes, inserting fake sicknesses or medical conditions, proving Harold had faked their deaths. In addition, proving he was the alleged one who was responsible for the murders. All 15 cases were proved that Harold was responsible for their deaths, legally charging him for 15 counts of first-degree murder, leading to the sentence of whole life in prison, meaning Harold would pass away in prison. Childhood. Harold was born into a working-class Methodist family. His father, Harold Shipman, Sr., worked as a truck driver. However, due to his frequent absence, Harold had grown incredibly detached from his father, making his relationship with his father as if a stranger and a stranger was walking by each other. On the other hand, his mother, who goes by Vera Shipman, who favored Harold very much, loved him, treating him the best out of the 3 children, including Harold. However, he was forbidden from playing or socializing with local neighbors, creating a sense of social isolation, which led him to not growing up with any close friends or peers he could talk to, remaining alone during his school life. Academic-wise, he was heavily dedicated, turning in every single assignment and homework in time, as he poured every bit of energy he held inside him. Students would often antagonize him as a nerd or a stupid book worker, labeling as the most isolated student in school. When Harold turned 17 years old, he would have to face the fact his mother passed away. During the declining health of his mother, he had visit her every single day to sit by her after school. Harold had witnessed the doctors injecting a medication, leading to the peace and relief as his mother passed away. He was devastated from his mother passing away in his life, as she was only the only person who had shown care. While it was devastating for him, it had also served as a motivation for him to become a doctor, or at least get into the medical fields. Pivotal events. Harold Frederick Shipman was born on the 14th of January, 1946, in Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, England, UK. On 1963, his mother had passed away, witnessing her injections influencing his future behaviors. On 1966, he married Primrose Oxtoby, with whom he had 4 children. On 1970, he graduated from medical school and began to work at Pontefract General Infirmary. On June 1992, he permanently bought his own surgical room located at 21 Market Street, Hyde. On 1998, he was arrested and held in custody. On 2000, he was officially sent to prison for his crimes, though it was only charged for the 15 out of 245 murders he committed. Quotes. This first quote will not be Harold Shipman's, but the judge who served in the case of Shipman, Judge Justice Forbes. You have maintained a smile of arrogant amusement. You have used your medical knowledge to bring death, and you have abused the trust of your patients. The rest of them will be from Harold Shipman's mouth. I didn't kill anyone, and that will be my statement until I die. There was very little definite evidence. No one saw me do it. To family, I hope you have an enjoyable Christmas. Is that a statement or a question? That is not the case, and I am saying I didn't do it. Forensic inferences. Harold's life, seemingly at first, was a case where there was an overprotective mother, but cared much about him. However, I think it's likely one of the reasons the killings were fueled is not because of the overprotectiveness of his mother, but his mother passing away. As said before, during the declining health of his mother, Harold had witnessed the injections done to his mother, witnessing the deathbed as well. The injections, the doctors had likely had aroused a sense of medical or clinical detachment and another arousal of motivation to kill and take the lives of others. While he was devastated for sure about his mother passing away, and that is likely he had that relationship between his mother was the likely only ever genuine emotion he had ever felt up until his death. It's likely he targeted elderly females is not only because they were an easy target for him, but he seemed to regain the memories of his vulnerable mother. He wanted to feel the presence of his mother, but also relieve the tragic thrill of someone passing away. In addition, the advantage he had on being a doctor had truly covered up his murders, making him not wanting to stop the killings even more inside of his mind. His social isolation had contributed to his loneliness, making a sense of crave towards the thrill of death increase. Legacy and impact. The case of Harold Frederick Shipman remains one of Britain's most brutal cases. Harold Frederick Shipman is one of the serial killers who murdered up to 200 people. He remains one of the most evil doctors in the world, aside from Britain. Many of Harold's former patients or close friends were shocked from the truth of Harold. However, throughout all of this, his wife remained loyal to him, even as she received backlash from the media, or knowing what he did, as it was reported in one of the sources.